Welcome! Today we're going to talk about this 2021 Tesla Model Y standard range. They're all different versions of the Model Y, and this is kind of a rarer one. When the Model Y first came out, it was first introduced for the 2020 model year. They had a standard range Model Y with a smaller battery and rear wheel drive. This version of the Model Y is no longer available. They kind of have a new standard range version of the Model Y now, but that one's all-wheel drive. So this one's a little bit different. I'm a Tesla owner myself. I have a Model 3 standard range plus. So this is pretty much like a crossover version of my Model 3, very similar. The steering wheel, the screen, everything is very, very familiar. We do really well with pre-owned Teslas here at Infiniti of Tacoma. Last month we sold about 10 of them. So we have a good amount in stock. This one's actually a little bit unique as well because this has the full self-driving capability. Full self-driving has gone up and down in price. For a while it was actually $15,000, and Tesla lowered the price down to $12,000 recently. And probably will go up. The price will probably go up again in the future as the system progresses. Pretty amazing. My Tesla also has full self-driving capability. I use it every day, probably 90% of the time when I drive, if not more, I'm using the full self-driving capability. So we'll do a quick walk around on this Model Y, and then I'll get behind the wheel and show you the full self-driving capability, I think, which is one of the coolest aspects of this particular Tesla. And how do you know if it has full self-driving capability or the person's only subscribing to it? Well, you can see premium connectivity expires September 19th, and then it will renew. If that was the case for full self-driving capability, it would also have an expiration date. So you can also look in the app. So if you're looking to buy a Tesla from someone, this is the vehicle right here. Tesla app's pretty amazing. A lot of stuff you can do here. You go to the specs and warranty, and here you'll see full self-driving capability. So we know that this vehicle has a software. We've sold lots of Teslas with full self-driving capability. We've never had a customer lose it and the ownership transfer. What we do is we switch it over to our corporate account. So this is on our Infiniti of Tacoma corporate account. So once we transfer it over and we know that we didn't lose any software when we transferred it to our account, it's not going to get lost when we transfer it to your Tesla account when you buy one. A lot of warranty too. People warranty, people worry and ask, well, when are you going to have to replace the batteries in a Tesla? Well, the Tesla, batteries in an electric vehicle are kind of like an engine in a car. They're not really designed to be replaced. They're designed to last the service life of the vehicle. Obviously, they can go bad and they can get replaced. Replacing batteries in an EV is like $20,000, $30,000, but guess what? Replacing an engine at a new car dealership with a fancy luxury car like a BMW Mercedes, that could be $20,000 or $30,000 too. But the nice thing about Tesla is they give you a lot of warranty on the electric motor, the drive unit, and the battery. So you can see this has a basic warranty that's good till February 25th, 2025, or 50,000 miles. Then the battery and drive units, that warranty is good till February 25th, 2029, or 100,000 miles. Right now it's September of 2023, so you have a long time before you'll have to worry about the batteries going bad and being out of warranty and you having to pay for it out of your pocket. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let's do a quick walk around and we'll hop behind the wheel and show you how this full self-driving capability works. So the majority of the functionalities in this screen, we'll show you more in the drive. Nice backup cameras. I like the functionality being tied to the screen because with the over-the-air updates, they're constantly improving and adding features. Like this blind spot camera, the door's open, was another recent addition not too long ago. Teslas didn't have blind spot cameras for a long time. Then one day it got an over-the-air update, and then it has blind spot cameras. So that's kind of like your smartphone. And pretty much that's what it is, like a smartphone on wheels. Like with a regular car, a lot of things are tied to hard buttons on the car, and those buttons are there forever. You can't really change them. But with the majority of the functionality, all the buttons being digital on the screen, it's infinitely configurable and updatable. So some EVs don't take advantage of turning this space into a trunk. I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of EVs that are guilty of just having, this space, obviously to service the vehicle, but you can put all this stuff behind here. If you're going to get an EV, it makes sense to get one with a frunk, total extra cargo space, and it's also a safety feature. You have all this space to absorb crash energy in a frontal collision. For 2021, the Model Y did receive some minor updates. They had a redesigned center console. We can also see we're seeing the rollout of the Tesla glass. You can see there's a double pane glass that has a sound deadening material sandwiched in between, making it a lot quieter. The first Model Ys that came out, I'm pretty sure didn't have that. And even though this is a compact, you have a nice spacious interior. That front seat adjusted for my height. I have a ton of legroom, headroom back here. Very, very comfortable. The Model Y has been a pretty big sales success for Tesla. Right now it's the 4th best-selling car in the US for 2023, which says a lot because some of the best-selling vehicles are like the Chevy Silverado. They have to send that back to detail. They did a good job here. The Chevy Silverado, and of course the king is the Ford F-Series, but you know, the Ford F-Series and the Chevy Silverado, there's a lot of fleet and commercial business, you know, where it's not as much so for the Model Y. So for that to be the 4th best-selling car in the US, behind those vehicles, it says a lot. And right now the Model Y is the #1 selling car in the whole entire world on planet Earth, beating out the Toyota Corolla. And this is, you know, a new Model Y is a lot more expensive than a new Corolla, so that says a lot too. And it says how far EVs have come, you know, for an EV to be the best-selling car in the world. A lot of people tell me, oh, the technology is not here yet for an EV, I'm waiting for the tech to be here. Well, if EV is the best-selling car in the world, I think the tech is probably here. All right, let's hop behind the wheel and show you the awesome full self-driving capability. All right, so let's take this Y for a spin with the full self-driving capability. So in Autopilot, you can see we have the settings, so full self-driving beta, auto steer beta, that's basically just regular Autopilot. So if you have a vehicle of full self-driving beta, you don't have to use it. You put it in regular Autopilot mode until you're ready to use beta. And beta is key, even though Autopilot's in beta, full self-driving being in beta, we have a lot of customers that ask us for full self-driving. It's not the point where you can not pay attention and read a book or take a nap or, you know, daydream. You do have to pay attention when using full self-driving beta because we're still working on the software. So us driving this vehicle with the full self-driving beta, we're helping train the software. So Tesla uses all the information for all the people driving Teslas with the full self-driving beta, and they use the information and they train the software to make it better and improve it. In fact, there is another update for the full self-driving that we're going to install on this one. We won't do it yet. It takes about an hour to download it and install it. So we'll just use the older version of self-driving beta. I have it on my car, I use it all the time, but you know, you have to keep your hand on the wheel and pay attention because for the most part it works great, but sometimes it will do kind of weird and wild stuff. It's getting better. I've been using it for a year and I can tell you, out of all the updates we've had over the past year, it's improved a lot. So what we're going to do a twofer. We'll navigate to a new supercharger that is built here in Tacoma. So I can kind of show you how that works. So to find supercharging, you have this lightning bolt right here. You can also use your app. It's always good to navigate to the supercharger because right now it's preconditioning the battery for faster charging. That way the battery will be warmed up and it will charge faster and more efficiently once we get there. And that's kind of the ace in the hole of Teslas, is their amazing supercharging network. I know there's fast charging options for other EVs. I was charging a Rivian at Electrify America not too long ago. It was not charging anywhere near as fast as advertised, and I've heard people say that it's hard to road trip in a non-Tesla EV. The supercharging network is really key, and they're very reliable. People talk about, you know, having issues with third-party chargers not working properly. It's very rare that you'll find you know, superchargers that are broken down, and Tesla usually fixes them pretty fast. All right. You have this huge screen with premium connectivity. You have these really cool Google Maps. We can see that we have the full self-driving visualization here. It's the mind of the Tesla. You can see this little tentacle. I don't have it activated right now, but this is kind of where it's thinking about going. We have this little steering wheel highlighted in gray. That means Autopilot, or in this case full self-driving, is available. To engage it, I'm going to push down on this stalk twice to engage it. So we're not going to engage it just yet. When it's engaged, the steering wheel will be highlighted in blue. And as long as the steering wheel is highlighted in blue, it means it's engaged. We're going to go ahead and engage it. Alright, so full self-driving is engaged. The light has turned green. It's cautiously making a left-hand turn. Not too bad. I can use this control wheel to adjust the speed. So it's 35, so I just adjusted the speed up to 40. It's changing lanes. If it didn't use the signal there, not absolutely horrible. And it's slowing down a little bit here. It sees that pedestrian. It's a little sensitive pedestrian, so sometimes it can slow down. And these are the things. This is why it's in beta. And as amazing as it is, it's amazing that this car is driving itself to this ability. But it's not perfect, and you know, it's not for everybody. You know, some people probably want it when it's polished and ready. People might not want to use it when it's doing, you know, herky-jerky, things like that, and getting nervous. And it was just giving me what they call a, I call it a nudge. What's the other word for it? A nag. So it will tell me, hey, jiggle the wheel a little bit, or you can also mess with these control wheels here, and that's just showing the car that I'm paying attention. If I don't react to the nag, the autopilot or full self-driving will disengage. And if it happens 5 times with the full self-driving, they'll put you in restriction. So they'll disable the full self-driving software for a little bit of time until you can try it again. It's doing a pretty good job accelerating. Here it's getting confused. It thinks the speed limit's 30. So I'm gonna have to adjust the speed up to 60 until it realizes we're on the highway. There's someone here on the side. So I'm gonna step on the gas and accelerate the car a little bit just to help us get a gap in traffic. That's the one thing I like too, is that you can actually hit the accelerator without disengaging the full self-driving, and that just kind of encourages the vehicle. Sometimes it can be reluctant, or in a situation like that where it's having a hard time finding a space to merge into traffic, you can help it along a little bit. And sometimes when it's about to make a turn, if it's about to pull out into traffic and make a turn, you know, it might be taking a little bit too long, and you can just hit the throttle a little bit saying, oh, it's okay, and the vehicle will go without having to disengage the full self-driving, which is pretty cool. It looks like we're in the Rainbow Road setting. Little Tesla Easter egg, we'll just leave it on. That's pretty cool. So normally it's just a blue line, but here you can see they've activated some rainbows. But all in all, it's doing a great job. And these ADAS systems really come in great driving on the highway. For me, it's almost torturous driving on the highway. It's boring. I like driving, but I like driving on beautiful back roads, not highways like this. So it is really nice to have a vehicle like this kind of doing the work for you. I'm paying attention, but it's taking a big part of the workload off of me. It's keeping the vehicle in its lane, and it's aware of things. If it, you know, sees someone slam on its brakes or an accident, it will slam on its brakes. So that's the nice thing about these ADAS systems is, you know, human beings, we get distracted pretty easily. This doesn't get distracted. This has cameras all around it, constantly monitoring the situation, and you know, so it's just another layer of safety on top of you. But again, you can't be too complacent, because sometimes it doesn't see everything, especially in bad lighting situations. If it's rainy or dark, or there's really bright sun hitting in a certain way, they can sometimes get confused. So you always kind of have to monitor the driving situation, just in case you need to intervene. And sometimes they question about the lanes it's deciding to be in. Right now we're in the fast lane at 65 miles an hour. I can see kind of people pulling up, so I'm just going to put the signal on and tell it to go in this lane. So you can put the turn signal on, and it will change lanes for you when you tell it to put the turn signal on. That also is also the case of an enhanced autopilot. Enhanced autopilot is pretty much like full self-driving on the highway. It's full self-drives from the on-ramp to the off-ramp of the highway, where full self-driving works on regular roads, and you know, we'll stop at stoplights, stop at red lights, you know, make turns, things like that. Rolling coal. See, I didn't want someone like that to get angry for me for, you know, going 65 in the outside lane. And to shut the full self-driving off completely, there's 2 ways. You can either put your foot in the brake, or you can put up on the stock right there, and that shuts it off. And you just hit it down twice to put it on again. Also with the auto steer, if you have a grip on it, this will not overpower you. So if it wants to do something crazy, if it wants to go into the next lane or make a turn and you don't want it, you just keep your hand on the wheel and it will not be able to overpower you. I can pretty much, you know, by turning the wheel a little bit, shut off the FSD. But remember, I took the auto steer off, but it's adaptive cruise control still on. So if I want to shut it off completely, I got to put my foot in the brake or push it off to shut it off completely. We're going to put it back on. So Autopilot's pretty easy for full self-driving. There's not a lot of obstacles. Where it really gets complicated is in traffic, intersections, a little bit more complex driving situations that you run into off the highway. That's where it still has a little bit of difficulty. But like I said, it's progressed a lot. My drive to work or dropping my kids off to daycare is about 10 miles. And before, there would have to be, I would make, 5 or 6 interventions sometimes on the drive because it was getting confused. But it's much better now. Now it's the point where sometimes I'll only make maybe 1 or 2 interventions. It's progressed that much. And sometimes I do the interventions not because it's doing something bad, I just don't want to annoy someone. Obviously we're on the road with people, not computers, so we want to, respect people and we don't want to annoy them. All right, so we're changing lanes in the exit lane. It's doing a great job navigating us to the supercharger. And actually, the other thing too, if you're not great with following directions on the GPS or things like that, the full self-driving is nice because sometimes I'll have a hard time seeing where the turn is, where it will know which exit to get off of, where sometimes I'll miss that exit. And sometimes it's fun to, one time I'm like, oh, I want to go to a hobby store. So I'm like, oh, here's a hobby store in Covington. I don't know where it is. I just put it in the navigation and my car drove me there. And it was an adventure. It's like, I'm gonna go to a hobby store, I don't know where it is, I'll just tell the car to take me there and we'll see where we go. So you can kind of do stuff like that, maybe find a park or a restaurant that you want to check out. You just put it in the navigation and the full self-driving will take you there. You got a turn coming up here. And it will be a little bit cautious on turns. It's not going to take turns like this as fast as a human being. It's a little bit cautious, but with these updates, it's getting more confident and driving more human-like. Before, it would be more herky-jerky, and you could tell it was more a robot, but now things are a lot more fluid. And here we go, into the parking lot. And full self-driving is really not at the point where it works in parking lots. Sometimes it will. It's working okay here, but really it's designed to be used on roads. So I wouldn't recommend using it in the parking lot in most cases. But here is a supercharger. It took us to the supercharger. No interventions. I made it change lanes and things like that, but for the most part we got here fairly fast. So I'll back her in and put it on the supercharger. So the supercharger is really easy to use. You just set up a Tesla account, you add a credit card to it, you back it in and plug it in. There's no messing with any credit card readers or anything like that. It's automatic. Sometimes people have a little bit of a hard time with the third-party charger. Sometimes it repeatedly, okay, take out the charger, plug it in again, or they have problems with the credit card reader, or they have to use it, activate it from a mobile app. Tesla superchargers are just so easy. Just hit that button right there, it opens, and boom, we're charging. How easy is that? I mean, even though when I used the Electrify America not too long ago to charge a Rivian, it wasn't that bad. I just had to plug it in first and put the credit card in there, but honestly, this was still a lot faster. I mean, what did that take me? 5 seconds? Or maybe it have taken me a minute to charge a Rivian? And this shows you how fast we're charging. So these chargers are up to 250 kilowatts, but sometimes it depends on the vehicle. Some vehicles, Teslas, can't charge up to 250 kilowatts. It's pretty rare we'll see it charge for the full advertised amount, but it's doing okay. It's doing 80 kilowatts right now. When there's other people supercharging as well, sometimes that can slow you down. It recommends that you don't, if possible, if there's open spaces, don't go next to someone right next to you. Maybe go a couple spaces over, and it will charge a little bit faster. So the charge limit right now is 185 miles. With lithium-ion batteries, Tesla doesn't recommend you charge them to 100%. It's okay to charge to 100% for road trips, but lithium-ion batteries don't like to be charged to 100%, so to keep them happy and healthy for as long as possible, for daily use, charge it to 80, 85, maybe 90%. I do 80%. And here, this tells you how much I'm being charged. So right now we've had 7 miles, just 8 miles now in this short amount of time, so it's charged me 62 cents for the 8 miles of range it's added to the vehicle. Yeah, and then when you're done, it'll either stop automatically when it's fully charged, or you can just hit stop charging. And the other thing too is if you want to go, you know, Tesla's smart, there's a jack in the box, there's lots of stores and stuff around here to visit, so if you don't want to wait in your car, obviously there's things to do. You can play video games, listen to music, but if you don't want to wait in your car, you can monitor the charging from your app right here. So it's fairly straightforward, fairly easy. And Tesla will charge you idle fees if you leave your Tesla on the charger, blocking it for other people. I think it's $1 a minute idle fee. If you leave a fully charged Tesla on the supercharger, obviously you're hogging space for other people who might need it, so that makes sense. But the app will let you know when it's close to being fully charged. They'll give you a little heads up, 5 minutes to make it back to your car, so you don't get charged for those idle fees. And I do find the first time you do have those idle fees, they kind of give you a pass. They give you a warning, but they'll be like, next time we're going to charge you. So we have a charger at work, so I'm not going to charge the whole time. We're going to charge on our own electricity. So that pretty much sums up our little drive. So we got to talk about full self-driving. It brought us to the supercharger without any interventions. I had to help a little bit, but I did not have to disengage the full self-driving. And yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time today to watch this video. Hopefully see you soon, and have a wonderful day.